Hi guys, I'm Brian again, and today we're going to go over important opening principles. After you've mastered all the pieces moves, after you've mastered the basic checkmates, it's time to finally move on to how to get an advantage in the game, how you need to start off strong. And so, we will be going over a few important rules to follow every single game to ensure that your position stays advantageous in the opening. And the first rule we need to follow, one of the most important rules in the game of chess, is to develop your pieces early. When we push our pawn 2 squares forward, we open multiple opportunities. First of which we attack this square, but we also allow our bishop to finally open, preparing to develop it in a later move. And one of Black's most common replies is pushing their pawn forward too, because they want to open their bishop, they want to control this square. And once you've made a pawn move or two, it's time to start developing your pieces. We can start with the knight. By moving the knight out of its starting square, we can attack the Black's pawn. We also control the square, but that's not relevant. The first, most important opening principle is to develop your pieces. I cannot stress how important it is to develop your pieces, as they are the foundation for your attack. Without your pieces, there's simply no way to win. And one of Black's most common replies is to develop their own knight. Specifically this knight, as it defends their pawn while also getting another piece off the back rank. So White has a variety of moves to play here, but one of the most simple is bishop out. Because bishop out develops simply another piece. There's nothing wrong with it. This bishop is not being attacked, and the bishop controls a lot of squares. The difference between placing a bishop here or another square like right here is that this bishop can see much farther into the enemy position. A bishop that's placed right here doesn't see anywhere into the enemy position. Rather, it's stuck directly in front of its own piece. And so, we want to bring our pieces to places where they can see, where they can be useful. That is opening rule number 2. We don't want our pieces to be stuck near our back rank. We don't want our pieces to be stuck where they have no potential. We want our pieces in places that are advantageous, that can give us a better position and give us an attack. And Black just mirrors this move, because they also want their bishop on strong squares. They want to have an advantage. And now, it brings us to our third opening rule, castle early. Your king is your most important piece. If it gets checkmated, you lose. And so, before you start your attack, before you start trying to win, you want to make sure your king is safe. And to do so, we can castle. And when castling, instead of having the king in the center, where all these pieces are staring down at it, we have a king on the side, protected by 3 pawns, protected by a rook. The queen can always come in. More pieces can come and defend. So we use castle as a way to protect our king. And another plus of castling is it develops a rook. A rook previously stuck, staring into this pawn. It has nowhere to go. But a rook that's castled can come here, escape, and do much more than when it's sitting on its starting square. And these are 3 rules that we must all keep in mind while in the opening. The first of which is to develop your pieces. The second of which is to make sure your pieces go to good squares. You don't want your pieces hiding in the corner, hiding in the back. You want your pieces in places where they can be active, they can be useful. And then your third rule, make sure to castle, to protect your king, to make sure you don't lose quickly, but also to develop your rook. And we will be going over one more rule in this video, which is to not bring out your queen too early. An example of this is let's look at a common checkmate many beginner players try to use. Bishop here, aiming for this square, and when Black makes a random move, for example this square, White decides to go here, threatening checkmate in 1. And many beginners do not see this checkmate. However, once you understand the checkmate, once you're well versed, you understand that this move is simply not strong for White. Black can push a pawn, attacking the queen. If the queen decides to move again, there are many different options where Black can develop pieces to attack. For example, knight here attacks the queen. Or, even better, pawn here. where the bishop attacks the queen and the pawn attacks the bishop, leading to white losing material. So again, be careful of bringing your queen out early. Make sure to develop your pieces to useful squares, and make sure to castle early. Once done so, you'll be able to gain an advantageous position, start your attack, and win your chess game. Thank you.